Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Good morning.
It is morning. We are recording a little bit earlier than
Mhm.
usual. Trying to accommodate my schedule because I actually have a memorial to go to later on today. I'm not at home. I have on headphones instead of my mic because I decided not to travel with it. It's
Mhm.
been an experience. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Planes,
How are
trains.
you doing?
I'm doing well. Speaking of planes, trains, and automobiles, I spent the morning reviewing a trip that I took in 2019 cross country to DC on Amtrak.
Ooh,
Starting from Jack London, I think, and then going all the way to DC. And
yeah.
Um, it was great nostalgia to see. It was the first time that I've traveled across country by plane. It's usually or by train.
Hmm.
Usually I do coastal stuff. And so it was the first time seeing what quote unquote middle America. So it was great. All the different terrains that America has. I think it's pretty awesome. And I hope if people get an opportunity to travel, I think that is a great and somewhat affordable. Well, it depends. If you get a
It
sleeper
depends.
car, if you get a sleeper car, that can be a little expensive, but
Hmm.
it's really kind of worth it just to see the different types of environments that we have in America. And a lot of people don't even get outside their own neighborhoods. So to be
Yeah.
able to see across America is very unique. And so I spent a good hour just reviewing my trip, which I shared on my Instagram page. So if anyone is following me on Instagram, TDLOVE5, and just look through, I think it was August 2019, you'll see at least 5 posts with videos of me going across the country on the train.
I promise this is not an Amtrak commercial because
I
I
know. I'm
actually
sorry.
no, no, no. I really love the train. Did you know, like when I
Yes.
went home for Christmas, I went on the train. So
No, I did
I did
not.
Oakland to Chicago and then
Okay.
got
Yeah,
picked up in Chicago by my
exactly.
friends. Yeah.
It was Oakland. It was, yeah, Oakland to Chicago and then from Chicago to Maryland.
Hmm.
And it was gorgeous. And yeah.
I did have a sleeper just because I'm still very COVID cautious.
Uh-huh.
It's really hard for me, like when I'm on a plane or something, and I'm
Right.
like the only person who's like masked, but then somebody behind me is like hacking. I'm just like, oh God, please. Um,
Yes.
so it was interesting because I've taken the coastal, like you said, a bunch.
Mhm.
And so when I get there, I want to get like snuggled in my like little observation chair because it's so nice.
Yeah.
If y'all ever in California and you do the coastal, it's gorgeous. They have like a whole room that's just like for observation. So the seat, like the whole thing is like
The whole
glass, so
car.
you can
Yeah.
see. And they're like really comfy seats. It's like very
Yeah.
nice to get if you are not in a sleeper to get away from like if you have a seatmate, it's like you
Mhm.
have a little bit more space to yourself. Um, but I had gone because like I had a whole plan. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get up there early for my
Mhm.
sleeper this time. And I went and I had like a blanket and some snacks and like a book and like several people maskless, like just hacking all over the train. And
Oh.
I said, nope. So I did most of it from my sleeper, which was a little
Yeah.
disappointing, but it was still
Oh.
beautiful. You could still see everything.
Yeah, I spent a good time in my sleeper car, but I also spent a good time in the observation deck. And for me, it was before COVID, so it was a great opportunity to
Yeah.
actually connect with people. And I felt like I was on the seasoned traveler trip because there's a lot of elders that were there.
Yeah.
And they loved the fact that I did it because they were like, "Oh, we're gonna take care of you, make sure that you're well
Yeah.
fed." And they asked me all kinds of questions about my life and found it fascinating. I had basically like a set of grandparents that were there watching over me, and then just random people. One guy was like, "Oh, Miss Love is in the Love Train," and so it was actually pretty fun. Yeah, you can get to know people, different people, but you can also just have a singular experience where you're just alone and you're just experiencing the train ride, and you can have a
Yeah.
lot of time to read. I actually started a crochet blanket It's still going because I haven't finished. But yeah, it's an awesome trip. So yeah, this was a topic I did not expect us to start.
I know. Well, I very, very, very much love the train.
Yeah,
It's just, I like the space of it, like the
yeah,
spaciousness, like not having to like be piled on top of each other.
right.
I like the time, the spaciousness of time on the
Yes, that's
train.
what I was thinking too.
I'm not in a hurry.
You're
You
not
know
in
what
a
I'm
hurry.
saying?
Yeah. So take your
So,
time and enjoy the trip, enjoy the solitude. Because
mhm,
sometimes vacations can be as much work as just being at home. And so it sometimes if you really need time off and you really need to relax, going by train is often the best way to do it.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Well, such a segue because I am in Santa Barbara now for a memorial, and
Uh-huh.
I have to like just give like really short remarks, and so I like wrote them while I was on the train,
Uh-huh.
and it was like just like a really, it was like the first time I'd had a chance to like really, since I knew I had to do it, like be by myself,
Yeah.
um, and so I think that was really helpful to me.
Hmm.
And going into, we had Bobby's memorial this week. Um,
Oh,
I
yes.
figure we'll switch up how we talk about it a little bit, and we'll talk a lot about the memorial in those episodes, and then we will talk about the rest of the week, which wasn't a whole lot. Um,
Mhm.
Also, I always forget to do this. Like, subscribe to us. Leave us some messages. Tell us how you felt about the memorial. Um, I just have like a few things I wrote down about it. Um, as I said, Elizabeth relives her past and comforts Carly. Sonny and Carly talk about Bobby and Mike. We have the return of Lucas Jones. Lucy and Tracy call a truce for the day for Bobby. Carly and Felicia finish Bobby's last task. I was boohooing, and we'll talk more about that because it was such a special story to me. And Maxie works with a reporter to gather Bobby's loved ones and share stories of what she meant to them. So that was just kind of like the overview of those episodes. Tell me, Tanya, how did you feel about them?
Man, I was boo-hooing. So
Whole time.
that the third yeah, it was the Thursday episode. Man,
Hmm.
all the feels. And my comment was that even as improbable and just like it hit all the kind of soap opera tropes in the travel across the country, across the world in 48 hours.
Yeah.
The how did Maxie get all these people to interview the lady, and then the sappy, ghost coming back, and then what was some of the other stuff that was really crazy to me, but it didn't matter. It was like because it hit all the feels and it
Hmm.
made me cry, and it was I felt a very well done tribute to the character and to the
Hmm.
actress that I didn't care. I mean, I noticed it, but I didn't care because I was just like,
Yes.
I was so into the story, it didn't really matter to me that some unbelievable stuff happened. So, yeah, oh yeah, I love the fact that they were able to quickly define the person, the victim of sex trafficking, and no retaliation from anyone that's probably hunting the girl down. I mean, it was just like it happened too neatly, but it didn't matter because
Yeah.
it needed to happen. And certain elements of the story is even moving forward. It wasn't just like a pause in time. It still kind of moved some things forward, and it was a great reflection. And it was actually something, the Thursday episode was actually something I would have loved to seen in the 60th anniversary. Because what they
Mm,
did was they used characters to bring back memories of a specific person, but the show could have done it for the 60th anniversary in that same way. And it would have been so spectacular, even if it was just for an hour. but they could have chose like different time periods or whatever. But I think they really did justice to the character and to the actress, and so it was definitely worth the wait. I know a lot of people were complaining like, where's the tribute to Bobby and how come they don't mention Bobby and blah 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 ever since the death. And I think, one, like we've said before, obviously the strike happened, and then, I feel like they did need time to really do justice, and they took that time and they did a great job. And so kudos to the writers, to the staff, to the team, to the actors. It was everything that, not that you want a memorial for somebody, but if I had to do like a memorial, it was everything I would have included in it. And I, only hope that my life can be just as impactful, to people. And it makes you think, yeah, it makes you think of how you live your life and how you impact other people, and just really kind of take stock. At least it did for me. Um, and so, yeah, that was my overall arching thought. And I know we can talk about the different elements, but those were
Yeah.
my overall feelings.
I felt exactly the same. To me, it was perfect. Um, I saw a little bit on social media, and so I just ended up like logging off about like the nitpicky stuff. Because I was like, actually, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to talk about the nitpicky stuff. I want to just talk about how beautiful it was.
Yes.
Sure, anything could have been different. The sky could have been orange. Like it could have been a million things that were different, but there were
Right.
things I also would have never thought of, and there were moments
Yes.
I would have never thought of and that were so important. Um, I mean, Bobby Spencer, what a character, what a legacy of a
Right.
character. And Jackie was obviously and clearly so beloved because you could see it in the performances of her peers. And I'm so glad they had those moments because I mean, I was dehydrated. I cried.
Right. I was like getting a slight headache because it was not, sometimes you have like little tears, but when you're like really emotionally invested, it's like it's a workout for your body. It's like you get a headache, you get stuffy, you get all that stuff.
Yeah. And
It
I
just
and I was so glad to just be in the moment of it and not in a critical moment. Because a lot of times, and I actually only watched it once, because a lot of times what I do is I'll watch it and then I'll watch it again with a critical eye. Um, to like really be able to talk about it on the show. But I only watched it once because I didn't feel like I needed the critical eye. I felt like what we saw was just so beautiful,
hmm
and so touching and so emotionally driven. I was like, Chris and Dan a little bit of shade there, but like it was so obvious that they wanted to do right by this character and wanted to do right by Jackie. And for me, they absolutely did. Like you said, every emotional beat was pressed. Every look, every kind of like every part of the story was touched on for me. Um, I'll say this, and then I'll give it back to you. One of the things that I actually tweeted about, and that's a lot for me to tweet about the show. Um, I tweeted about was, and this had happened, like 2 years ago, where it was like that fight between Bobby and Nina,
hmm
and Nina said something to her about her past as a
Oh yeah.
prostitute.
Ooh.
And I remember saying, because I really wanted the critique to be felt. This is back when
hmm
we still had a Sunday Shift Twitter account.
hmm
And so I tweeted, this is actually not even about what Nina said to her. This is about the fact that the writers wrote that for Nina to say to her. Because I
hmm
didn't want it to be like, oh, she doesn't like the character of Nina. Let her like watch her like drag this character. It was that somebody wrote that to think it was okay to say, and there was no pushback, no backup, no like, um, yo, she wasn't a prostitute, like she was trafficked. And so we talked about it, and it was us, and I just want to give a shout out. It was us, it was Jen M, it was Erica, it was Tara
hmm
from Point Misery,
hmm
um, Sandra. Like we all tweeted about this, and we talked about it in a very critical way, and we talked about how that was not an okay thing to do. And I really do feel like this was in response to that. Like I do, not
Mm-hmm.
saying that like was all us or whatever, and I'm sure that like they've had conversations on the set from other women um who like push back on some of this, but I do feel like that is the way to be critical about something. That it wasn't like just cruelty and it wasn't based in characters, like, putting down characters. It was actually like, we're in a different day and age. Let's talk about
Mm-hmm.
what this means right now. Let's talk about how we talk about these women in these stories and we actually adjust and we actually fix and correct how we've talked about this thing for so long. And
Mm-hmm.
so having this be the story that they brought forward, and like even saying Bobby was contending with her past and all of this, for me, I was literally boohooing because I was like, this is so impactful.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have seen it this way and will still who were still calling Bobby a prostitute, doing all these things, who now through this medium of TV are seeing this in a different way. And I really felt like this was just so impactful and so important and so about the reason we love a soap and the reason we love art because it can really change things. So I was floored that that happened.
Yeah. And the funny, well, not the funny, irony is that in Oakland or in Alameda County, we actually, our district attorney did a parade, not a parade, a march on human trafficking the same week. And I don't know if it's a human trafficking awareness month or anything like that in particular, but it was very timely just to discuss the topic, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk
Ooh,
about specific things
sure.
now?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Please.
and then I'm gonna interject when I felt like it was because some of the stuff has to that went along in the story were for me favorite performances. So
Please do
it's
that.
not
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
a formal, okay, this is my favorite. This week we're just
Yeah.
gonna talk about different elements. So um I want to talk about first the conversation between Felicia and Carly.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was so amazing because it was during the time that I actually really started. I mean, I was watching, but really kind of like paying attention and getting into the story was around that time period, around
Hmm.
when Felicia left and Maxie was feeling all these um, feelings about her mom being gone. And so that really hit home to me. And that, and then the relationship between Carly and Maxie. Um, Even though at the time, Carly was really kind of close to Lulu, but
Yeah.
I think they did, I think they did Carly did kind of have a connection to that to Maxie after. And then the relationship between when Bobby lost BJ, I watched that too. And I don't think it was actually the same time period. I may have went back and watched it, but yeah, I saw it. And so it really hit home to me to hear the perspective of Felicia
Hmm.
and the pseudo like the resentment that she had for
Yeah.
Carly and how she kind of just internalized that and never really forgave her. Oh my God, it was amazing just for them to have that opportunity to have a conversation. And it was all kind of like I didn't realize it at the like I didn't really quite know that the reporter was really supposed to be an angel. I just thought, oh, it's a nice thing that they brought the last actress back. And so I was like, and then when the story was happening, I was like, it just kind of seems by like um divine intervention that,
Yeah.
they crashed the car and they're forced to have this conversation. It's like almost like Bobby is kind of laying her hand on, you know, what's happening and making sure that her best friend and her daughter have a different kind of relationship and have forgiveness and bond together. And
Hmm.
so that's what also made it amazing because I kind of feel like, yeah, I am. so I'm like religious, spiritual in that kind of way, and just thinking that sometimes um one of the biggest scriptures, or not scriptures, but someone told to me that God's purpose is revealed to you in many different ways. It doesn't have to be in the Bible. And
Hmm.
so when that happened, it reminded me of that. Just like sometimes circumstances um, happen in your life where a higher power is speaking to you, or something in the universe is speaking to you and giving you a message. And I felt like that scene was that. Like either Bobby, as an angel up in heaven, was rearranging circumstances to make sure that this
Yeah.
outcome happened. And then, and then obviously BJ, I mean, she as the angel just kind of arranged this whole thing um to make sure that Carly would go and rescue the girl. But then there was also other things that happened and healing that happened. And that was
Yeah.
so amazing to me. And the performances were amazing. So yeah, it was like one of my favorite performances. Obviously, Laura Wright this whole week knocked it out of the park. But I really loved the interaction between Christina Wagner as Felicia with Laura Wright. That was amazing.
Mm. I'm so glad you talked about that. First of all, I loved, I mean, Christina Wagner was just so phenomenal this week. Um, it was hard to like even be in the moment in her scenes without crying because she was just um she like the emotion was like rolling off of her. I loved that scene where I think again this is why we watch soap operas because we have these histories that go on and like span forever. And there are some people who will be rivals forever, ever, and there was some people who will like have circumstances that change their relationship, and they should be based in these like long and rich histories and story. And I loved Felicia just being like, "Yeah, your mama forgave you, but girl, I did not." Like, because that's real. That's real
Yeah.
life. That
Yeah.
there are people who like have an attachment to you who will forgive you, but the people on the periphery who watch them have to deal with you do not have that same forgiveness. And
Right.
Felicia being like, it wasn't just what happened to your mom. Tony was my family too. So it wasn't like you just broke up this marriage. You broke up like a safe space for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was so real to like
Mm-hmm.
say to her and important. And I love that they didn't skirt away from Carly's history.
Right.
Carly's history with Bobby was front and center, and the idea of redemption and forgiveness was also front and center. And so I just really appreciated that it wasn't glossed over.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually like deeply, deeply embedded in the story at every step.
Right.
From Carly's conversation to Sunny to her own like eulogy of her mother to like the scene with Felicia, it was like no, 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 no. You came in here, you was a mess, girl, and you messed up your mother's life. And there was this parallel between how Bobby was as a young person and how Carly
Mm.
was as a young person. I,
Right.
I specifically appreciate that flashback and I've seen this scene so many times of Laura showing up to Scott's house and Bobby just being like, well, girl, we were about to.
You might not want to stay because, well, we got going down. It's, you know, and I am clearly stealing your man and I'm sleeping with him and I'm doing something that you wouldn't do. And I'm
And
telling
I'm
you
telling
to your
you,
face.
and I'm telling you about it.
Right. It's
And
so young Carly.
yes,
Definitely.
and that's why I've always loved Bobby as a character. And I think it was Laura who said in her eulogy about like how she used to, or maybe it was something else, but like how she used to come for people, and then she turned to like being a person who took care of people,
Yeah.
and just like weaving all of that to me shows a little bit of what's wrong with soaps today, which is
Hmm.
that like everybody has to be likable, everybody has to have a point of view, and like, we're fighting about who's right and wrong. And I'm like, what's up with people who are completely wrong sometimes, but then who will like show up to Elizabeth and give her just like the complete rundown of how to deal with an assault. And it's
Right.
so tender and it's so beautiful and it's so lovely. And it's unfortunately so relevant right now.
Right.
That scene could be played today for a nurse and still be relevant.
Yeah.
That's some writing right there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? To like transcend time periods,
Hmm.
to be able to like say, no, this is how we take care of each other. I don't know. I was just blown away and impressed.
Yeah. Very impressive. I guess, um, so the next thing we can talk about is the bringing back of cast members to talk about Bobby.
Yeah,
That happened when Maxie and Maxie was kind of still trying to hold on to BJ. I believe her name was Brighton. Was it Amanda or Amelia Brighton? I couldn't remember.
Amanda.
Amanda. And so Maxie was still trying to hold on to Amanda and, kind of extending her stay and be like, oh, I can help you with this article about Bobby. And so she invited all these people to um, Kelly's to sit down and talk to her. And so that that was also amazing because there were definitely key figures in Bobby's life that were there. The conversation between Lucy and Scotty, um, again, shows that history and
Yeah,
how a person can evolve. Lucy said, if I had to have, like, if there's somebody that can really judge a person, a character, it shouldn't be the enemy or it shouldn't be the best friend, it should be the rival,
yeah,
because the rival is the one that knows you because they're studying you and they're trying to compete against you, so they know you probably more than your
hmm,
best friend or your sister, right? And so she felt that way about Bobby, and she felt respected by that. Like it wasn't just a hate relationship. There is some level of respect when you have a long-term rival. And she appreciated that relationship. And that was amazing to see.
yeah.
And I didn't actually really know a lot about Scotty because Scotty is for me, especially early on. Now I find him a more humorous, but before he was definitely an annoying character that I just really didn't want to know about. And so it was, I just like he would be like one of like right now, like Alexis right now. I just don't like her. So sometimes I just be fast forwarding through her stuff. And that was the same way with Scotty, but it was a really interesting to kind of, and now I kind of want to go back and watch scenes if I can, between him and Bobby, because there's stuff that he's been involved in, a lot of stuff, and like I guess making some sort of fraud against the hospital and putting Bobby in danger. That was the scene that they had, and she was, lashing out at him about it. I was like, what? What? He did what? I kind of want to go back and watch that. Like, he has such a colorful history. And I
Oh
actually
God, he
follow,
does.
yeah, and I follow, well, I don't follow, but I follow a thread on General Hospital in Twitter, and Ken Schreiner actually tweets a lot. And so
Hmm.
he's definitely different than his character, and it just actually makes me respect him as an actor a little bit more.
He feels the same to me.
Oh, well, I don't know. I just think I don't know. I think Scotty is a little bit more of a weasel than Ken Schrader is. So I don't know. I just really appreciated that scene, and then also, with Willow speaking again, it was for her. Um, just Bobby embracing her as a daughter and embracing her into the family. That was great. And I kind of hope, some people don't want Willow together as a couple because they're kind of boring. But I think I'm hoping that her remembering that and remembering that with Michael and, you know, the Spencer family, she does have a family. She's always had a family with them. And I hope that she remembers that.
Yeah, I mean, so much shit she said I wanted to respond to. I mean, first of all, with Milo, like,
Yeah.
who else would they be with?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like they
Yeah.
have a canvas full of people. They've not been setting up other relationships and all of
Mm,
that. Like, who else would they be with?
right.
Um, I don't know anything about Ken, so I don't want to come off as being shady to him. I just meant like some of the bumbling, like
Oh
that kind
yeah.
of stuff, like
Oh
feels
yeah.
very much like who he is.
Yeah.
And I just like am laughing because I remember like Fanola and a couple other people being like, yeah, that's him. As far
Oh,
as the storyline, of course, like he's different, but as far
oh
as like
yeah,
the
he has definitely
character,
have similar mannerisms as
yeah,
Scotty, but the character, I don't think he's the same in terms of
hopefully not.
his morals and his all that stuff. I think it's different.
Hopefully not.
Lack of
Hopefully
morals for Scotty.
I loved Lynn's performance. I love that they allowed her to be like Lucy to be such a central figure because of the relationship between the actresses,
Hmm.
despite like so much of their adversarial history.
Right.
I'm so glad we got the nurses ball, the last
Yeah.
nurses ball with Bobby, where Carly like paid tribute to her, and when Lucy was just like showing up, like Bobby's not gonna do it right,
Right.
and Bobby was still kind of needling Lucy like at
Yes.
the time. It was because like it could have very easily because thankfully the audience knew Lucy was alive, but like everybody
Right.
thought Lucy was dead.
Yeah.
But like it could have very easily been like this very sugary sweet, like, oh my God. But it was still like the needling of it that made
uh,
me laugh. Um, so I'm glad we did get that. I appreciated like the Liz piece of it when she talked to the
yes.
reporter and even saying, like my sons don't know.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if we're setting up a story where like her sons will find out.
Probably.
Um, yeah, like I do wonder about that. Um, oh my God, I wish that we would have got a flashback to Bobby showing up to Willa or to Michael and
Oh
Nell's wedding.
yeah, because I would have loved to see that again. Yeah.
Bobby never liked Nell. She
Right.
clocked her ASAP. Was like, no, absolutely not.
Right.
Which I love. So I just felt like I said, all together, it was pretty amazing. And then I'll also say, you brought up like this BJ being brought back.
Hmm.
When BJ called Lucas champ,
Champ. Oh,
lost it.
I lost it. And it was like one of those soap opera tropes where okay, the reveal of the angel, and then there was the song, and then and then it was kind of like a montage, right? So the song was beautiful. I loved it. I was like, I wonder if they wrote that song specifically for this, and because the heart thing and stuff like that. But then when they started with the heart pumping, it was like, y'all. But it works because I
It
was
worked
just
for
like,
me. It worked for me.
I was like, oh my God, this is so corny, but I'm like crying like a baby right now. I
It
was like,
all
it
worked for
all
me.
worked. When she said champ, that was it, the floodgates. But I was still feeling it when, there was a scene between Maxie and Felicia, and Maxie was pacing back and forth in the house and was like, how do I get in contact with Amanda? I can't find her card and I can't find her on the internet. And she was just really anxious and she was touching her heart, like, because she was starting to feel that connection again. And then, Felicia was like, oh, I'm going to find her and I'm going to call AP, and then
Mhm.
finds out and they're like, yeah, we never heard of this person. And it was just like an immediate connection, like, oh my God, it was
Yeah.
BJ, and I need to actually rewatch the first scene when after the funeral because there was a scene where they were all in Kelly's with Carly, and I think they were saying some things like Chris, maybe Felicia was saying, "You have beautiful eyes," because maybe she
Yeah.
remembered,
Kind.
yeah,
She said she had kind eyes. Yeah.
kind eyes, and there was probably some other things that they recognized about BJ or just kind of manifested into this adult woman, like they instantly felt a connection to her. And I thought the way they set that whole thing up was
Hmm.
amazing because it could have been really obvious, but they set it up in such a way where we didn't really know where they were going with it. I really
Right.
thought that she was just going to be a reporter who's following up. But that first
Yeah.
clue came to me when Carly and Felicia were in the cafe, and the one was like, I don't know why Bobby would say anything to a reporter. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, why would she talk to a reporter? This is supposed to be a secret thing. And why is she talking to her reporters about it? And then I was just like, oh, maybe she did. the reporter's a ghost.
Yeah.
So that's when I started thinking.
I did not think she was a ghost that early, but another thing, and you know I'm not a Carson fan. That's never been my ship. And I'll get into my Sunny hate later. But I did love their scene together. Um, I it was just like the familiarity of it. I think this version of Carson, like the friendship, I really enjoy. The connection, the like, I don't care what happens, we're kind of riding for each other. Um, and him making the connection that seeing Bobby and Carly's relationship is what made him forgive Mike. And so like people who maybe didn't have the context of Carly and Bobby's relationship, but remember, or like, you know, maybe newer viewers who saw Sonny and Mike, like making that connection felt really important to me. I just really enjoyed them being together. And I also especially enjoyed um, that the Nina drama was very separate from this.
Yeah,
That it wasn't used to like bash that character or to like further whatever. It was like one simple line because it wouldn't have made sense to not have it, and
right,
then people moved on. And so for the days of the memorial, we actually just really didn't have any Nina, and I
right.
appreciated that.
Oh yeah, I am a Carson fan, and I am glad that they did have this, conversation, because it needed to be had. I think
Yeah,
they both were really important relationships that they had. And so it was a pretty significant moment in Carly's life. And Sonny did need to be there because he shared that part of her life with her, whatever all the things that she almost went through with Bobby, almost everything, not the very beginning, but a good portion of her adult life was spent with Sonny. And
hmm,
and so he interacted with Bobby just as much. And he may have even listened to Carly talk about Bobby and all these things, and he witnessed that relationship evolve over time. And so he definitely needed to be part of the conversation with Carly. And it was very cathartic on both ends. Like they're both grieving. And obviously, Mike is always top of mind for Sonny. And just having and Carly was very significant in helping him
yes,
reconcile with Mike. And so,
yep.
they both kind of needed to have that conversation. And it was very beautiful and touching. It wasn't antagonistic. And like you said, it had nothing to do with Nina. It was just about them and relating to each other about their parents.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. And it just strengthened it emphasized their bond, but it also strengthened it in a way.
Mm.
um, so yeah, I'm not invested in Carson getting back together, but I'm invested in them maintaining that good relationship. And so that was just another um opportunity for them to have that be established. So yeah, that was also a great scene. It was a good moment.
Well, as we get into the episode, I don't think they're going to maintain a good relationship, but I'll tell you about my speculation with that.
Uh-oh. Oh
Um,
yeah, Jason. I
well,
forgot Jason's
not
back.
even that, not even
Oh
that. I'll also say I loved the scenes with Carly and Tracy. Like there's no love lost between the two of them. And I appreciated like when Carly was talking to her, like Carly was talking to Tracy, her first instinct was to like defend Luke. And
yeah,
then when she thought about it, she kind of backed down. And we really don't see that often in soaps, but Jane Elliott as an actress just like masterfully navigated that in
yeah,
the same ways that she like was really a masterful navigator in the like scenes with Lynn
yeah.
as Lucy
Lucy,
and
yeah,
being like, we're gonna call this truce for today, for Bobby. Just like the way they did that, I thought was really, really beautiful, and such like a good moment,
yeah,
in general. Um, I think that might be all I had in my notes. Oh, also, I just want to see them bring back Lucas for real. I missed him. I was a little sad. I will. The only thing that I will note that was a little disappointing to me is that we didn't have a Lucas and Sam moment. That was the only thing that I would like to say was like a problem for me.
Yeah.
But other than that, I would say that would have been 11 out of 10. Other
Uh-huh.
than that, the episodes for me were 10 out of 10.
Yeah, definitely 10 out of 10. Never really rated the show like that, but yes, 10 out of 10, definitely.
We've never,
Yeah, I was just like, wait a minute, have we ever even done that? We've never given them a number
and
or
we've never
rating.
gushed this long about them. So that's
Oh,
also a thing.
well,
Bobby
yeah,
really did that. Bobby and Jackie really did that.
yeah. So kudos, kudos, kudos.
Round of applause.
Round of applause.
Um, other things that happened this week as we moved into it, I just have a couple bullet points.
Okay.
Sasha intercepted Felicia's DNA test for Cody, so everyone continues to believe that Mac is not Cody's father. Ava is moving forward with pressing charges on Esme. In talking with Esme, Spence realizes that she has her memory back.
Right.
Nicholas and Ava share moments, and Nicholas goes to see Spencer. Ava tells Nina about Sonny's arrest, and Nina goes to see Cyrus at the hospital. Sonny orders Dex to kill Cyrus and question his loyalty when he hesitated. Diane and Robert argue over Sonny, and Joss and the RA help Adam with whatever his issues are. So that was the rest of the week. What is like working for you?
It's hard because I mean that whole the Bobby memorial definitely worked for me, and so it kind of dominated my thoughts, and I wasn't really looking for what else worked for me outside of that. Um I think oh, well, I think Spencer realizing that Esme knows the truth definitely worked for me, and I'm glad that he does. Also Ava being her petty awesome self, being like, no, I'm pressing charges against you. And she wasn't necessary, and she wasn't apologetic about it, even like in the face of Laura, who has a good way of making people feel guilty about their behavior. Ava was like strong. She's like, nope, she needs to go to
Nope.
jail. Yeah, I ain't feeling sorry for her at all. And I love the fact that she kind of trumped Nicholas's plans. Because I don't know what he had planned going on. He's like, you're gonna have this party. I'm like, for what? Why is she gonna have like what is their
So
goal? And
weird.
I was so weird. And I'm like glad Ava stepped in and was like, nope, we're just gonna put her in jail and forget your
Boom.
little grand plan. So um yeah, I think Ava definitely worked for me this week. And how she was telling Nina about, herself as usual. Like Nina tried to be like, you're the one who bullied me to do this. She's like, that's not what I was doing, and you know it. And so
That was wild.
I was like, I mean, and I didn't even want to say this, but I'm going to say it now. It really shows the difference between Nina and Carly, because this whole week was about Carly coming to terms with her behavior in the past, talking about it with people that she harmed, and forgiving and getting forgiveness. Nina is just like, she will throw anybody under the bus to protect herself, even her best friend.
Yep.
And I was just like, and the
Yep.
friend that you really should be contrite with, because you practically stole her baby from her, but you still willing to throw her under the bus. Just
Whew.
like, this woman is crazy. And so, but I didn't want to make it about Nina, but I'm gonna make it about Nina right now because she just reminded me just that contrast. And there are people out there who saying that Carly never owns up to anything she does. This whole week shows how she's been like trying to become a different person. Even, she's not trying to be an angel, but she's recognizing what she's done in the past and how it's harmed people, and how she needs to, be better and do better. And she did that for her mom. So I dare anyone say that Carly has not learned from her mistakes.
Oh, they're gonna say it. They're gonna
No,
say
they
that.
will. They're gonna probably comment on this right now and be like, "F you, Tanya." I'm like, I'm staying strong. I'm gonna be like Ava. I don't care what you say. You're wrong. Carly is way better than Nina and always will be. Sorry.
I don't think that there's any Nina fans who listen to us, but if you do, Godspeed, we appreciate you. Um, but I will also agree, and I was talking about this. Brit does a space, and that's why I was able to hop in for a little bit of it last week. One of the things I was like talking about is that Nina is who Nina is. We talked about this on the show for Sunny, not for anything else. And so there's like this thing that happens in like soap fandom that's so weird to me because it's all about like who's right, who's wrong, who's completely in the right, and who's completely in the wrong. And for me, I've never liked characters who are completely in the right. I like people I like characters that live in the gray because like we as people live in the gray. I like characters that are complicated and complex and sometimes right and sometimes wrong. And so I think, even when everything was happening with like Carly keeping Willow's birth mother a secret, I was like, oh, this is trash. Like Carly should definitely have told Willow. That doesn't mean that I don't like Carly as a character. That means that Carly, who I like, did something wrong. It doesn't matter, like whatever. I think that for Nina, it's interesting to like hear her fans talk about her and to even hear the actress talk about her because everyone talks about her as like it constantly is like this is why she was raped
Right.
when in reality Nina does very villain type shit or
Mm-hmm.
anti-hero type shit, right? And if they just made her the anti-hero and just like if she flipped one piece of her personality where it wasn't constantly like whining and crying about people being mean to her, but
Right.
actually like owning it and being like, yeah, I did that. And I did that to protect myself, or I did that because these people wronged me. If
Right.
she truly believed what she says she does, that Carly wronged her and that all of this, like, and then she stood 10 toes down and then was like, actually, I don't mess with her, and this is why I did these things.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, for me, she would be a more interesting and compelling character.
Mm-hmm.
But because she is dating Sunny, they have to make it seem like Sunny is not dating someone who is just out to get his family in that way. That everything's an accident, everything is an impulse, and as soon as she does it, she feels bad about it. And it's like, no, girl, I don't want to hear that. Stand in what you did. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you a bad bitch or no? And
Right.
you know what I mean? And that's why I appreciated what Lois said, and people were mad at this. I appreciated what Lois said. Lois was like, I ain't never liked Carly.
Right.
Never. But that's your
Never.
family.
Right.
And like here Nina is not only like did she benefit off of Carly's misfortune, but then she tried to get her locked up for it.
Mm-hmm.
What? This is like, and this your girl, this your wife. This
Right.
is like, and I know how much you care about loyalty. So it's just like this constant barrage of like, oh, this was legal, this was right, this was wrong. Nobody cares about what's legal. Sunny
Mm-hmm.
basically, and this is what didn't work for me, but like Sunny basically told Dex, like, look, I lost my temper. I beat up an old man in church and now I need you to go kill him.
Right. He's owning
Like,
that.
this is what he did. So, like,
Right.
are we saying that's worse than are we saying that's better than insider trading?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we
Right.
talking about here? Like this whole right and wrong and who committed a crime. Like, who cares? Laura is the mayor because Spencer stole the election. What like are we talking about right or wrong? And we're talking
It's,
about legal and
yeah.
not legal.
And you know what? The irony is that Diane and Robert had this conversation, this exact conversation. She's like, Sonny's going to get off because even though, obviously what he did, well, she didn't admit to what he did was wrong, but people hate Cyrus more than they hate Sonny. She even said,
But
she's
you're
like, Sonny is beloved in this community. And so Sonny can have a legitimate business and he can still, but people still love him. And so that's what's going to make it hard for Robert to actually prosecute him. And that's the same with um these characters is that we love Carly as flawed as she is, but she can do stuff, but we're gonna still love her.
Hmm.
And Nina, but I don't know, fans love her for some reason, but I think
Some fans.
some fans, but Nina isn't there yet. I don't think, because she doesn't necessarily own up to her act. Like you said, she doesn't own up to her actions. She's still whiny about it. She doesn't stand 10 toes down. And it's like, ugh, dude. And I was thinking about Sonny's very protective of people in his family, who he calls family, who he loves. Like, imagine somebody. I don't know if Carly's ever done something as heinous to Brenda, but I bet if she did, Sonny would have been like, no, don't come for Brenda. Like, you may not like her, but don't do some shit like that. I can just, like,
Well,
I don't
Carly
know.
has been trifling to Brenda, to be clear.
Yeah, but
Carly
did
did,
Sonny forgive her for it? Like, or did he, like, say, don't do that to,
he kind
that's
of
the
forgave her
thing.
because you remember, like, at the Sunny Brenda wedding back
Right.
in the day, she came in and she like had the proof that like Brenda's kid was Dante's, but then it wasn't. She broke up
Uh,
the wedding with it. I think that there's also like something about that these characters have grown up a little bit.
okay.
So like even talking about like what happened in 2011 is like really different than what happened in 2023, 2024.
Yeah.
I also think that part of the problem is that Sunny's beloved because I remember at a time, and Tara actually talks about this a lot with Port Misery, is that there used to be a class divide in Port Charles. And so Sunny was kind of like, even though he had money, was kind of trash.
Mm-hmm.
Like people didn't like him. He wasn't allowed in the Quartermain mansion. Like, I remember when he got with Emily, when the Quartermains found out, the whole thing was like, girl, you're gonna be dodging bullets, you're gonna be unsafe, you're gonna be all of these things. They talk about that with Sonny, but we don't see that anymore. Like we don't see the dangers of Sonny's life. We don't see why he needed to like why people don't mess with him. So you end up having stuff like Anna and Felicia, not Felicia, Anna and Laura are like, this is my bestie. I think
Mm-hmm.
we're about to see like the break between him and
Yeah, now that
Laura.
he's trying to kill Cyrus.
Yeah, but like this
And
is
then the
my
beat up.
bestie. Oh
Yeah,
God.
being beat
Um,
up.
but like, yeah, this is my bestie. This is like my person. This is whatever.
Right.
And so like you have like very, very clearly like decorated and respected people in the community like standing for Sunny when
Right.
Sunny used to be the criminal element in town. And so it's so bizarre to see this like juxtaposition of Sunny versus Cyrus when essentially they're the same type of like they used to be the same kind of criminal element.
Right.
Um, so I do think part of the problem is that they want to half tell the story about Sunny
Mm-hmm.
without fully telling it, without fully like reminding us why Sunny is and where why he is where he is and why people feel that way about him.
But it seems like they're coming to bringing the real Sonny back, because now he's
You
like,
know, Sunny.
the real Sonny, the violent Sonny. Because, I mean, and whether or not Port Charles will accept that Sonny or actually push back on him, it remains to be seen. And I think Laura is probably going to start doing that. Obviously, I mean, she knows that Cyrus is questionable, but what Sonny did was, inexcusable. And so, well,
Yeah.
at least to her, to me, I laughed, but to her, it was like, oh my God, it was so, he almost killed him. And, in a church, I was like, dang. When they talked about it, when Robert talked about it, I was like, yeah, dang, that's pretty bad. You could be violent in the middle of the sanctuary. That was just like, and he goes there to be, spiritual. You just forgot yourself. You lost your Jesus in that moment. And that was bad. And I don't Like, I don't see how you can even feel like you can go back to church after that. I would be feeling so
Right,
guilty. I
right.
would never step foot in church again after I did that. Or at least I'd be begging for forgiveness.
For
Um
real.
for I mean, that's just blasphemous. But yeah, that's interesting. Will remain to be seen how Port Charles reacts to a more violent and aggressive Sunny. Um
It's even like even you said this, and I saw a little bit of this like commentary
right.
on like Facebook and Instagram, which is like Sunny's back, Sunny's back, Sunny's back. I'm like, is this what people wanted? Because this was not strategic. This was
Mhm.
not in the vein of protecting your family. This
Right.
is actually like cruelty and like a cover up of like how you lost your temper. That's
Yeah.
actually not necessarily Sunny being back.
Right.
And I had a like the way he came to Dex was like super manipulative.
Mhm.
I was like, what is going on? Dex like drives you around. This was like a jump in responsibility that he
Mhm.
like now has to murder for you. And go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish your thought because I was like thinking Dex is supposed to be doing something. He's not doing it.
And so this is what I
Right.
was saying before. What I think so there's like a spoiler. I'll do the
Yeah.
spoilers next, but like there's a
Okay.
spoiler next week or a spoiler coming up of like Nina drops a bomb. And I do sometimes wonder if the bomb she's gonna drop is that Dex is working for Michael and Carly.
Does she know
And
that?
that's no, not
Right.
yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Nobody knows except for like Carly, Michael, and
And Jocelyn?
Joss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And so I do kind of wonder because what Nina did was like kind of inexcusable, but to Sunny, what Carly and Michael is
Michael are
doing is
doing
even worse.
even way worse.
Way
And
worse. And
so
Willow, oh, I'm sorry, Willow knows this
Willow
too.
knows, so
Willow
yeah.
knows too. So I do wonder, and I kind of, I mean, it's very Nina if she like happens upon the conversation between Michael and Willow and then like
Right.
knows it or whatever. And so I do wonder if that's how Nina gets back in Sunny's good graces. I don't think that Sona is over. Like I think Sunny and Nina are gonna make it through
No.
this for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I noticed that immediately when Nina was just like, "You still love me," at when
yeah, and he's still
at the
wearing his
end,
ring.
and he still, and so yeah, definitely, I was like, "Damn, she
And
right."
and so to like to kind of recalibrate, I do wonder because, like I said before, if you hadn't been watching, you actually wouldn't realize that Dex works for
Right.
Sunny or works for Carly and
And
Michael.
Michael.
That has not shown up at all. Like
Right.
they haven't talked about it. He hasn't checked in with them. None of
Right.
that. He just is out here acting like he works completely for Sunny.
And
So
and
I
then
do
so I was,
wonder.
yeah, I was wondering all throughout that whole thing, like after he left Sunny's, I was like, the first person he called was Joss, but I'm like, no, dude, the first person you need to be calling is your boss, Michael, because this is
And Carly,
exactly, and Carly, because this is exactly the type of thing they would want to know and want to mitigate him doing something really dangerous and really stupid.
right.
And I hope that they do that, that Dex does call them because this is a very dangerous path Sunny to go on. And like Jason in the past, Jason would have probably done a better, well, early Jason would have done it, but new,
Right.
like older Jason would have been like, are you sure? Like Dex tried to do it, but he didn't reach Sunny, and Jason probably would have been able to reach him.
Right.
Um,
It's
so
always
yeah,
It's always funny when people are like, Dex is no Jason. Well, no, Dex was never supposed to be Jason. And Dex is actually very early Jason, who
very
just
early.
like robotically taking orders.
Yeah,
And Jason grew up and was like, are you sure? Like, and he gained Sunny's trust and they were
yeah,
able to be a little bit more in partnership. But even then, if Sunny wanted something 100%, he still expected Jason to go
to do
by.
it.
Like, it was
Yeah,
like they talked about it, but if Sunny was on a rampage, the expectation was that Jason would do it. So
yeah.
I'm interested to see, trying to keep my hopes up for Daddy Dante.
Oh my goodness, Daddy Dante. He was looking good this
He was.
week.
I mean, that's Daddy Dante. I'm talking
Zaddy
about Daddy Dante.
for Dex. But the problem is, and I think it was Christmas, he talked about his family. So I was like, oh, damn, they gave him more details for his family. So that means
I'm
he's
like, maybe he's
not
adopted,
related. Yeah, maybe I hope so. Because
and
his
that's why his
family's
family is treating him this way because he's
right. Or why
adopted.
he always felt different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they beat up on him because he's the
Mm.
redhead stepchild of the family. He's not redheaded. This is a black thing. Sorry, y'all.
Is it?
I don't
Anyway,
know. Do white people call their family redhead stepchilds?
I would have no way of knowing.
Oh, I don't know. It was just something that that was in my family
Yeah, my mom
growing
used to
up.
say it too.
So
I completely didn't do what's working, not working. I just started talking, and I
right.
also want to come back. This is the scatterbrain episode, y'all. Sorry. One of
Yes.
the bullet points that I forgot in the like what else happened was that Curtis had his surgery. Um, and something that cracked me up was every time that Trina told somebody in Black Hospital that Spencer was going to Paris with her, they was
They were all
like,
like,
"Oh."
they were like,
The black auntie and uncle jumped out. They was
they were not
Spencer.
having it. Spencer, what? Um, so here's my thing. Half of me is just like, it's way too soon for him to be able to find a cure. That and the fact that the cure didn't really work, like only 3 successful surgeries out of what 25, but they're gonna make it happen for Curtis because this is gonna be a miracle cure and he's gonna be up and walking by February. And so
For Black History Month.
for Black History, um so part of me is just like, this is just so unbelievable, medical blah blah, this is soap opera. But on the other hand, I'm glad because he was a little insufferable on the wheelchair.
A
So I was just,
little.
I was like, get him out of that wheelchair because I can't
I can't
anymore.
handle any more Curtis wheelchair angst. Get him
Right.
up. Get up out this wheelchair. Walk your ass to Sonny's gym. I've had enough
Right.
of this. I'm not interested.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm like, I'm half side eyeing, but half glad that it happened because I'm done.
Yeah. I've had enough. I will say something that is not working for me. I mean, we talked a lot. There's a lot of stuff working for me. I loved, so much of the week. Something that's not working for me is the continuation of Esme and Sprina's story.
Uh,
And let me tell you why. And let me tell you what frustrates me. I think that people are allowed to complain about whatever they want to complain about. And I've talked about this often, but I just feel like I have to double tap it for myself. Is like what rises to the level of like active like campaigning complaint versus like what is just like something that we talk about. And so like how I brought up that I really do feel like our conversations move the needle on how they talk about Bobby. I feel like what has been and what remains really unfortunate was this juxtaposition between Sprina and Jack, and like kind of like using Jex as like this complaint for Sprina, that made it really difficult, I think, for anybody who could do something to like listen or know how to navigate. When the real problem for Sprina has always been Esme, but somehow it got like cast as if the problem was Jex, and then Joss was like, and so there was so much complaining about Joss that there was not enough like actual like complaining and like having real conversations about Esme's place in their story. Esme has been a part of Sprina's story since the beginning. Like we had what 2 months of Sprina without Esme? Is that what it was? Something like that? At their very beginnings. And then after that, everything about the because his pairing has been has been a response to her. even the like time that they got away that was supposed to be like, their, I mean, and it was their time and it was romantic. It was like they needed to get out of town because of Esme and Ace. And I just really feel like it was such a missed opportunity to have a conversation about, like, we have people who are foils for couples all the time, but having one person be like a foil for a couple throughout the entire run of the couple is wild to me. I am stuck, and it's very frustrating and very annoying. And it like to have even this, and I think I noticed it when you saw like Black Hospital kind of being like Spencer, like side eyeing, at the same time that Spencer is then having this like scene with Esme. Like, what else could Sprina be doing? And I'm not saying they have to be perfect, right? Because they're like a couple that the show is invested in. And when you're that couple that the show is invested in, it's very difficult to have just like happiness. You do have to have boundaries and barriers and all this. But why is the barrier this one girl every single time? It's very frustrating, especially given the history of what she's done to Trina. That like I'm glad Ava brought back up, especially given like just the idea that she hasn't been punished for anything, and that like she might still have a crush on Spencer, like so that's coming back around. Like I hate it. I hate every part of her still being involved in their story. And I think it was a missed opportunity, and it continues to frustrate me that there was so much like ire put on Jex and Jocelyn as like being the problem or a problem for Sprina when the problem has always been Esme.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with there being one rival for Sprina. And maybe it's because I've gotten used to that dynamic happening in another show.
Hmm.
So, you don't watch The Bold and the Beautiful, but I've started watching it. And it's been that way for the titular or the most prominent couple on that show is that there's always been a battle between Ridge and Brooke and Taylor. Like Brooke and Taylor have been foiled from the beginning, and they continue to be, and they continue to fight over the same man. And it's just like, and they've done horrible things to each other. And so it's not like um right now, and I don't know if they'll ever do that with Trina, if they'll ever have a change in character in Trina, or Trina actually does something to Esme that's horrible.
Exactly.
But but in The Bold and the Beautiful, it's always the one woman that's always going to be a foil for whatever couple is happening. And so that doesn't necessarily surprise me, and it doesn't necessarily like upset me per se. But I hear your point in that we really like Sprina needs a chance to move on from Esme. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen right now until and I guess we won't know as far as spoilers. I really hope that Esme does go to jail. But it also means that if she does go to jail, like somebody said, like Curtis said, that means that Nick Spencer probably won't be going with Trina to France. But we also know that I don't know what's happening. I don't know why the character Trina is going to be going to France. Does that mean that the actress is not going to be on the show? That's what's concerning me. I don't like the idea of Trina not being on the show for a period.
Yeah.
And if they're doing that because they know that Nicholas Chavez is going to be gone. And I'm hoping if Trina's not going to be on the show, that I hope there is a better reason outside of Nicholas Chavez leaving. I want Trina to be able to stay and have her own life outside of Spencer if she's going to be in Port Charles, because I want that for Tabiana. I want Tabiana to have a storyline regardless of whether or not she's with Spencer or not. So that's what's concerning me. Like, and even if it's because she's a foil to Esme, she's going to be forever a foil to Esme. At least she has a story, you know? So I'm like, I want Taviana to be on the scene, you know? And
Right.
um, so yeah, that's what's concerning me is that they're actually going on the trip at all.
Yeah. I don't, it's so funny. I don't watch Bold and the Beautiful, but I know those names. I don't know much about their
Yeah.
storyline, but I do know those names.
Yeah.
Um, I would, I mean, I also would say that like I don't think they're ever gonna let Trina do anything that is like half as bad to Esme as what Esme has done to her.
Right.
So like the idea of like the foil or whatever of their relationship is gonna be really, even if Trina get like get her again for me if she's snarky or mean or
Yeah.
whatever, it's not gonna be to the level of I tried to take your life away by putting you in jail for like
Right.
doing revenge porn against your best friend. Like it's just never gonna be on that level. So like that frustrates me, I think, in like any potential rivalry. I do think that I think that the what they previewed was that there was going to be like a Sabrina adventure or something. So I do
Okay.
think even if she goes to Paris, like it'll be with him. Like we'll still see her. I don't think they're sending
Okay.
her off canvas in that way.
Okay.
Um, and I would say the other thing for me, and this comes back to like where's Taggart, is
Yep.
they gave the story to her. They gave the story to Curtis, and I didn't find it compelling. I just didn't. I
Right.
think that it's interesting that he is like the anchor of Black Hospital. Like everybody kind of revolves around him. What I personally find him to be the least interesting.
You know what? Back to the where's Taggart. Trina is only concerned about going to France because she wants to be close to Curtis. What about your own daddy?
And I
Yeah,
think,
like what
and I
about
personally
Curtis? What
think
about
that would have
Taggart?
been a really good storyline for
Right.
Trina to like help Taggart get sober, to like
Right.
contend with what happened in their family, to like support him through that. That could have been some really good story for Tabiana. That could have been, Emmy nomination. Like that could be something that you submit in your reel. Because I'm trying to think back. I don't even think that she has much. She's on a lot and she's with Spencer and she has like this romance, but I haven't seen much that she could submit in an Emmy reel.
Exactly. And you know what? You mentioning Taggart is getting me mad all over again. They haven't even explained where he is.
Right,
They haven't explained where he is. She has not asked after him.
right.
She's not had any thought about him for the past couple of months. And they were
But
so close. Like she
right,
literally like she had such like and you know, the other actress had such a storyline because she was upset that he was kidnapped her. She thought he was dead and all this other stuff. And now it's just like it's all Curtis all the time.
yep.
And I'm
And
mad. I'm mad.
this is what
I'm mad.
happens with Black characters that they like either change around their like origins or they do whatever just to like fit a storyline, but it's not about having roots. And that's the kind of thing that happens when you disappear them or when you like take away like what is important for them. What is her story? So I don't know what Nicholas's schedule is, but because I believe his contract for the show would be up like summer of this year, and so he's shooting this Ryan Murphy stuff now. And I believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe they said that they were going to tack a little bit on the back of his contract so that he could like fulfill the Ryan Murphy show and then he can come back and like finish out his contract. And so I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe him and Nicholas will leave. I don't know. Like we don't know what's going to happen with that. But I cannot imagine that Nicholas Chavez like re-ups his contract for any substantial amount of time on GH following it being brought up. And that means we have to ask the question of like, okay, cool. So what happens with Trina? What happens with Tabiana? And they have not shown that they are going to give her a story outside of him. And so I wonder if like the thing that they do when he is getting ready to leave is bring Taggart back and that be her story. Because I do think that will be compelling. Um, but yeah, I mean, romance is very important for a heroine, but also so is the story. And like if I think back to so many other people who have had like front burner romances, they also have these other stories that are happening outside of it, so that their whole thing is not the romance. And we don't have that for Trina.
Yeah, I'm just mad. Real Andrews, I love you. I'm sorry. I'm mad that this relationship with her dad is just like kind of lost by the wayside. I do hope they resurrect it because and it's weird I'm taking it personal because I have no kind of relationship with my own father, but I just kind of want this for her.
I
But
get it.
now I'm mad.
I get it.
Because he's a good dad and for them to like there are really great fathers out there and so when I see it I want it to be up front and center even though I don't have it I want to see it and so when they
Right.
just let it go like that I was just like that's not right.
Agreed.
Yeah, so what's not working for me always Cody and it's
Always.
you know always and I'm so upset that he skated by this again. And I know why they did
Again.
it because they want to wait for Mac to come back, and it will be more compelling once Mac is back to find out that Cody is a liar. But I wanted it to come out now. I wanted to come out, and I wanted Felicia to catch him because she's right. And so I didn't like it. And I also didn't like the fact that now Sasha is implicated in his schemes. She did it herself, but you know, but then that again, I Sasha's one of those characters because we love her so much that you know she can step into the gray and we'll forgive her. I don't feel that way about Cody though. So so yeah, Cody skating by is not working for me.
I will also say something that's not working for me in the vein of the story is I'm
Mhm.
tired of Sasha being in relationship with people she feels like she owes. So like her strongest relationships on the canvas right now are what Nina and Cody. And both of
Mhm.
these people are people that she constantly has to be like, well, you forgave me, you saved me, you blah 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 blah. Like I want her to have I would like more Sasha and Willow to be quite honest with you, because these are two characters, even though we don't really talk about Sasha killing Harmony, not the point. But like but like these are characters who their relationship is just is it's not a relationship that they feel like one or the other owes. And I think that both of them need that and both of them deserve that.
Yeah, and that's another thing that makes me mad about Nina going to Sasha because Willow needs her friend right now. And I mean, how is it going to be the person that she's upset with? That means Willow's going to forgive Nina because Sasha's going to help it happen. And I'm just like, ugh, she needs a more neutral friend. And she don't have one right now. And hopefully maybe she and Christina can bond because they need to because Christina used to be Michael's best friend. And now
Yeah.
she has her own life and now Michael has his own life, so I want that connection to be stronger. um yeah, but I can't wait for Christina to find out.
Well, I don't know if she'll care. I'm
Oh, but
interested.
Nina acted like Christina is going to be the worst enemy, but yeah, she might not care because
She might
she
not care.
didn't
She might not care. Especially if like Christina finds out after Nina like
exposes Michael.
or like pushes back and like gets Cyrus to drop the charges, like
Oh yeah.
whatever. If Nina does that, then Christina will be like grateful for whatever for what she did to her dad for her dad. Um, I also I think that what you said is so it gets frustrating to me for to hear people be like Nina doesn't have anybody when Nina actually is like a extremely supported character
Mm-hmm.
given her behavior. And so she always has somebody to run to. When I think about somebody who like doesn't have anybody, I remember after like this is still when before we had Drew when it was just Jason. And Elizabeth like after that wedding and after she got exposed,
She
the
didn't have
reason that she
nobody.
got right, the reason she got with Franco is because everyone had made her a pariah.
Yes. Now that's one woman that suffers for her actions.
Yes.
And she still
And
got some more suffering to do if not only her kids find out about the rape, but if her kids find out about Elizabeth's behavior
yeah.
and really start thinking about why do we have three different dads, mom? What's going on with that? Oh,
But like,
you engaged in some kind of behavior,
where's Lucky? Anyway,
right? Ooh.
but like, you know what I mean? Like, so what is what like she always has had people. She's always
Mm-hmm.
had folks in her corner. There are other people who have been pariahs. When people thought that Carly had pushed Nell, like
Mm-hmm.
everybody abandoned her. The only person who had her back was Jason while she was in a fucking like
Right.
treatment center. Like people have been abandoned. And Nina has never had that. She's always had Sasha, she's always had Ava, she's always had Curtis, she's always had her
Liesel.
family.
She could
Like
have ran to Liesel. Why she got to go
she
to
definitely could
Sasha?
have. Like this is somebody who has never, like especially this version of her, never not had support. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just frustrating. Like the people, like there's like this like grudge that is being held by people who shouldn't like her, not liking her.
Mm-hmm.
These people should not like you. You should
Right.
not be liked by these people, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's all I got. I don't even have any hot takes. I've said them all.
I let me think. What hot takes? um, let's see. Story improbable, blah blah blah. Spencer A's hat. Oh, we didn't talk about Hat Daddy and Stella.
When he yelled at her, I said, "Who are you talking to?"
Right, but it's an interesting dynamic that they're bringing together. And at first I think I had a comment previously that I didn't understand why, because when they were having their little flirtation and kiss, um the music in the background was so, it wasn't romantic, it was more like doom and gloom, and I was like, why? And I was just like, that was so crazy to me. Like they're putting this story, they're showing the story in a way where it's just like it's a horrible idea that they get together, and I don't understand why that is because they're not related.
Yeah.
So I'm like blood related. They're, related through um and then also I like the actual story with Irene. I thought that was actually good. And maybe it was not this week, it was a previous week.
Oh,
But
I was like,
because I had it in my notes and maybe I forgot to erase it. But I did like his scene Hat Daddy had with Irene, his first wife.
oh
But
yeah. Which came back as a ghost.
yeah, she came back as a
That was weeks
ghost.
ago.
Yeah, that was weeks ago. But I am interested in the story between him and Stella. And I don't know why GH is going in the direction as it is. Like it's just gonna be this total train wreck, or they're acting like it would be a train wreck, in terms of not the characters, but how GH, the music around it, and then
Hmm.
all that stuff. And I was just like, why are they doing it like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the comment that I had. Oh yeah, it is old because I was like Spencer and Baby Ace, and like, that wasn't Christmas. Um, what I have? Oh, Nicholas and Ava. That was it. I was mad. I mean, yes, they had great conversation, but it would just seem so pointless to me. I was like, the least they could have done was had some angry Nava sex, but they didn't even have that. It was just a conversation, and I was just like mad. And I was like, what was the whole point of bringing him back in the first place? But then they redeemed themselves by having him show up at the jail. So, but
Or at the
otherwise,
house, at Laura's house.
was it at Laura's house?
That was at Laura's
Oh
house.
yeah, okay. I thought, why did I think Spencer was still in the jail when he had his revelation?
Nah,
Um,
Nicholas can better not show up in no jail because they about to arrest
I
him.
know, yeah, so that does make more sense. But yeah, so they did redeem themselves by having him show up at Laura's house because maybe he did just want to see his mama and let his mama know. He was not trying to have a meeting with Spencer. I remember that. He's like, it's too soon for me to see Spencer, but he did. So he's gonna see him anyway, and I'm actually looking forward to that scene. I know Nicholas
Me
Chavez
too.
is gonna shine. He's gonna have another Emmy reel before he leaves. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
my
And I like Adam Huss.
yeah. Adam Huss is good. I don't know um if they're still trying to think about having someone permanent, but I think Adam is doing a good job. Shout out to Adam.
Yeah.
Okay, well that I think that is it that I have.
The preview for next week. Shout out to Twitter user Odyssey, which is where I got these. So thank you because
Okay.
TV Guide has not updated them. And they're in like a pretty background. So shout out to you.
Yeah.
Um, Monday, January 15th. Ava is furious. Spencer has an unexpected reunion. Jocelyn finds Adam in trouble. By the way, why they have my girl Jocelyn snitching? I didn't
Mm.
like that. Nina strikes a deal. Sunny reconsiders. Tuesday, Jocelyn gets support from Carly. Nicholas decides to protect Ace. Trina tells Esme about her plans. Okay, Trina.
Right?
Like, I'm going to Paris with Spencer.
She telling the whole world, we're me and Spencer are going so to France.
Love it. Sunny tries to stop Dex. Mm. Wednesday, Carly and Drew lean on each other. Nina drops a bombshell. Ned and Michael face off. Esme panics. Finn and Elizabeth come across a clue. Ugh. It was such a good week last week. I don't think we had any Finn. Um, Thursday, Michael prepares himself. Drew and Anna commiserate. TJ updates Jordan. Christina has a super surprise visitor. Esme seeks help from an unlikely source. Friday, Carly and Sam discuss the recent changes in Drew. Drew makes a big business decision. Dex comforts Joss. Spencer confesses to Laura. Esme is desperate.
What is Spencer confessing? The fact that
Maybe
he
he saw
rigged it.
Nicholas.
Oh, I will be like, he rigged the campaign. He's finally letting her know he did. Grandma, I have to tell
um,
you, you weren't actually democratically elected. I
no, your grandma. Not only are you a terrible mayor, you weren't even
you were
elected.
elected. Sorry.
Also, he could be confessing that Esme has her memory.
Yes. But yeah, but it made it sound like he had did something wrong that he's
Yeah,
confessing to. I was like, what he's
yeah.
confessing about?
Well, you know, we will talk about all of that and more next week. Thank
Yeah.
y'all so much for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us a comment, tell people about us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.